The Iran deal, the text is still being finalized. How confident are you that this Friday signing will happen?
You're talking about this one on the deal? Deals are amazing. I've done them all my life. I've gone into deals that were 100% and they don't happen. I've gone into deals that there was no chance of getting them done, and it happens, and they happen easily. So you never know with deals, do you? But you're going to find out pretty soon. I think it'll be done. They want to sign. They want to get back to a normal life. We hit them very hard.
President Trump speaking today in France at the G7 summit and taking questions, of course, as he is apt to do, about the memorandum of understanding. It's not the actual deal, folks. So if you read, the text is now out, the memorandum of understanding, I think my understanding is that it's the agreement to sit down and have a comfortable set context in order to get to an actual deal. So that memorandum of understanding to be signed soon. And we are here with Senator Eric Schmitt, of representing Missouri, of course, in the United States Senate. And grateful to have you back with us, Senator. I'm curious if you've had the opportunity to read through the memorandum of understanding and if you have a reaction to it.
Well, I've had conversations with senior White House officials earlier this week, and we're tracking the language right now. But I mean, I'm hopeful, right? This is an opportunity to get papered up what President Trump has talked about from the beginning, which his goals were to make sure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon, and the Strait of Hormuz is opened up. And I think that'd be a positive development. And anything that beyond that is all sort of incentive based on Iran's performance and complying with the terms of the agreement when it's signed. And so, I think he knocked back their military, knocked back their nuclear program, their navy's in the bottom of the ocean. All that kind of created this room for the diplomacy that we're seeing play out now.
I think President Trump's decision to go forward with, we've talked about clips that you can see from decades ago when he wasn't anywhere near the presidency, where he was talking about keeping Iran from becoming nuclear. You look at what he's been able to accomplish. He's been very goal-oriented and very consistent on his message. Is it your assessment, Senator, that America is now safer because of the actions that have already taken place in Iran based on President Trump's direction?
Yeah, America has no interest or should never want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. It would be incredibly destabilizing, not just for that region, but you'd also see a kind of a cascading effect in that you would really see a proliferation then of other countries around there wanting their own nuclear weapon to sort of check Iran. So there's all kinds of implications that go beyond just the borders of Iran. But I think this is a president that takes on issues related to American interests, and it's not in our interest for them to have a nuke. And with the furtherance of this memorandum of understanding and an agreement, that becomes sort of what he was set out to do, and it looks like that's going to play out.
I want to ask you the question that we're asking our audience today, which is a pretty big question, very interpretive based on the person who's receiving the question. But do you trust President Trump to get a good deal with Iran? And how much of a difference is there between this memorandum of understanding and the actual deal that the administration would be pursuing here? Do you trust President Trump to get a good deal with Iran?
I do. I can't think of a president, certainly in my lifetime, that's better suited for getting to a deal, right? I mean, this is essentially who he is. I mean, the art of the deal. I mean, this is how he became known in many ways in the late 1980s and into the 90s and then had a show and talked about how you build a team to get these deals done. So I do. And I think that the issues that still need to play out are what are those benchmarks or what are those kind of checkpoints where we're ensuring that they aren't moving forward with a nuclear weapon. The truth of the matter is whatever material, the dust as it's been referred to, is buried under a mountain right now, effectively. And so we've got pretty good eyes on that, and we want to make sure that happens. And if that happens, by the way, what the president, what the vice president talked about, if all of those things happen, that does create conditions, and we should just verify all this. I don't even know if we need to trust. We just need to verify. If that happens, that's when you see potential Gulf states investing in Iran and having more normalized relations in that region, and you see the Abraham Accords expanded. That would all be great. That'd be great for the region, be great for the United States. We'll see how that all plays out. But this kind of sets the framework for that to potentially happen down the road.
We're speaking with Senator Eric Schmitt, United States Senator representing Missouri. I want to shift gears on topic right now and talk about the UFC fight plot that was foiled. I don't. Were you at the fight? Were you there at the White House?
No, I was going to go, and my youngest daughter wanted to play golf with her dad. And you know what? So that's what I did.
Good choice. And, how'd you golf?
Yeah, so, well, we just went and hit golf balls. We just went to the driving range and hung out for a little bit, which was awesome. But no, it looked incredible. The images are just remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looked like AI, honestly, but this is, I think, a great celebration. That was the IndyCar race, the rodeo, the state fair, all these things are going to be happening. There's going to be a great celebration in St. Louis by the Arch on the 3rd and the 4th. These are all like reminders of what a great country we are. We should celebrate it.
Yeah, and I think that the conversations that I saw from a lot of pundits, even on CNN that were covering it, were saying this isn't a political event. I know that a lot of people who are sitting in studios might be able to politicize the event from afar, but on the ground, it turns out Americans love fights. And the UFC, that's not by any means a partisan entity, and bringing it to the White House, there have been many entertainment types of I've heard of opera and plays and concerts and all of that stuff.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt was sparring with people in the White House. I mean,
President.
I mean, these are just things that if we just take ourselves like a little less seriously, so people just like enjoy these things, right? I think the people that were all pearl clutching about this are hoping for lightning and bad weather. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah.
Get a life. So
yeah. And while you're working on getting that life, we're going to sit here and enjoy a good fight or a good concert or whatever it might be. What's your reaction, Senator Schmitt, to seeing the World Cup, our visitors ascending on the United States? And here's this question that I want to ask specifically you, because we here are in the heart of the Midwest. And the one thing I keep hearing people talk about is how they're not going and looking at the Statue of Liberty and being like, oh my gosh, there it is. Or going to the coastline in California and being like, oh my gosh, the ocean's beautiful. They have oceans, they have beaches. They're coming to the Midwest and they're meeting folks that are like us and they're enamored about it. What's your reaction to all these videos that are out?
I think it's really cool, and it's very organic, and I think that's a bit of a tell too, right? This isn't staged. These are people who are coming and they can't believe how clean a Buc-ee's is. I think they love the barbecue in Kansas City. I think that's really cool, and I think it's a check. I mean, there's so much. I mean, you've been here. I walk through the halls every day, going from my office to the Capitol to vote and hearings and all this, and the press around here, they're just so negative. They're just whatever news of the day to try to drive a wedge or whatever. And the truth of the matter is, in like real America, like normal people are living their lives. They're taking their kids to practice. They're going to a game like this. They're watching the UFC thing. That's what they're talking about, right? They're watching college football on Saturday. They're not showing up to some, a no Kings rally after no Kings rally after no Kings rally. And, like real America, people live their lives and they love this country. And it's cool to see people from other places kind of experience that in those sort of interactions that are genuine and authentic. I think it's really cool.
And Senator Schmitt, too, it's interesting to see these Europeans or folks from, these other countries, they might not just be from Europe, appreciating what America has to offer. And that's usually partnered with shock. I don't know what the impression that they had about the United States, but they clearly thought it would be something very different. But the consequence of that, a positive consequence of that, is, and I'm one of them, is I'm seeing these people be impressed with our country, and I'm realizing I've maybe kind of bought into the negativity about America that has been sold somewhere with some consistency enough for us to just kind of be ho-hum about it. Where does that negativity come from?
Well, it's sort of like, I think it was a New York Times article, but it was some sort of publication like that was like, wrote an article about genuinely surprised that people in the South were welcoming to the Germans visiting America. You're like, what world do you live in?
Yeah.
Like, come to Missouri. People are like happy to see you. They're friendly. They'll talk about the Cardinals. They'll tell you about the float trips. They'll, give you a Busch Light, barbecue pork steak. I mean, like that's what real people do. And so I think it is cool that narrative is kind of being disrupted. I will say, though, that at the same time that's happening, you see polling that even CNN is sort of shocked by, that if you ask Republicans and Democrats, are you proud or very proud to be an American? 90% of Republicans say that. And by the way, that number is consistent whether there's a Republican or Democrat president, okay?
Yeah.
And you look at now, Democrats, it's under 30%. It's 29%, less than a third. Think about that. Less than a third of Democrats right now are proud to be an American. Like, I could take a partisan, whack at this, but I'm just saying, as an American, I think that's sad. Like,
It's sad.
I don't think that's a good development. And as a country, as somebody that wants to see my kids and eventually grandkids and great grandkids to enjoy all the things that we get to enjoy and the culture and everything, like, it's not passed on through the bloodstream. Like, people have to appreciate it and protect it. And if you don't really feel good about it, I don't know what that foretells for the future, right? So not a good development.
Yeah, Senator Eric Schmitt speaking with us. It's very sad because I think that if you're not feeling that like swell of American pride right now because of the World Cup or because of America 250, it's one thing to not be like, okay, this isn't my favorite moment in America's history, because maybe you don't like the president, you don't like his policies, whatever. But there are people who are very hostilely angry about it. And the UFC fight, the FBI did it again. They were able to foil this plot that was so deep and demonic in the way that they approached this. I'm just reading from a Fox News article here right now. Investigators noted this journal contained a target list of 46 individuals, including politicians and celebrities. Court records allege Proper and Eskridge actively researched targets using the website trackapac.com, specifically focusing on lawmakers they believe accepted campaign funds from pro-Israel lobbies. Senator, we've heard a lot about right-wing extremists, MAGA extremists, right-wing violence. Is there a left-wing violence problem in our country right now?
Oh yeah. I mean, you've had, I've talked about this, and the media doesn't want to hear it because they want to make it a both sides thing. But if you look at the evidence of, just look at a poll, 25% of those who describe themselves as very liberal believe that political violence is justified. That's compared to 3% of very conservatives. 3% too many, but it's not the same. The president has had 3 attempts on his life, at least 3 attempts on his life, right? The Charlie Kirk situation, you see this Antifa, which is very mobilized, and some of the stuff that's in here in what they discovered is really disturbing. I mean, what they were trying to do was have these attack drones come in to create chaos, and they had sniper teams that were going to shoot people as they were fleeing the chaos. Like, that is demonic. That is evil. There's something, in some ways, look, we've always lived with this to some degree, but I think that the left's inability to call out this rising tide of political violence is very dangerous, and it should not be enabled in any way, shape, or form. And I just don't hear that stuff on the left. I just don't. And
Yeah.
So anyway, it's kind of scary. It is, I guess, where we're at. But I would hope that we could kind of pump the brakes and say, look, we can have disagreements. We can battle it out in court. We can battle it out on the town square. We can battle it out on the Senate floor. We can battle it out on elections. But at the end of the day, I don't want any political opponent of mine to be harmed. I don't. I just don't. I want to win fair and square. And that's with ideas, right? And that's with elections.
Yeah, well
violence.
said. Senator Eric Schmitt with us. Before we let you go, you are a baseball hero, nationally recognized at this point. Your nose looks good from here.
Thank
I
you.
can see your nose is recovered just nicely.
Yeah.
You made an incredible play out in left field. You believe you were wearing the Cardinals hat as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
We appreciate
That's
that.
right.
What's the coolest thing that's happened since you made that catch in the Congressional baseball game last week?
I mean, making Sports Center, that was pretty cool. I've had interviews about my glove that I got when I was in high school and used in college and then got restrung. A constituent emailed in just today a poem about me making the catch. So it's the first time, I've had things that I say go, be heard and go far and wide in certain instances, the kind of a viral moment. But this wasn't a political thing, right? It was, who is this dude that's out in left field, getting to a ball and, laying out and bloodying up his nose and, saying, just rubbing some dirt on it and say, let's keep playing. That was pretty cool. And I had a cop say, "Man, you're all right. If you're willing to do that, bust up your nose to make that play. We appreciate that."
Yeah.
So, but anybody that's known me for any length of time knows that there was no way I was going to let that ball drop if I could get to it. I wasn't sure I was going to get to it, but I'm glad that I did. It was a cool moment. It was a very cool moment, and it was fun. I mean, 35,000 people there, Annie. Like, it's on TV.
Yes.
It was a cool thing.
It's
kind
of what you dream about going into there. And those opportunities really don't come about very often in games like that. And you made the play. And
Well, it's funny, Annie. Yeah, and I'll tell. I'm not sure I've told this story. I've told it to my team, but like the next inning, there was like a major league pop up out there. Like, and we don't judge. I mean, I don't judge fly balls for a living. I've not done it that consistently, and certainly not in a major league stadium where there's lights and different levels and shirt colors and everything. And it was a sky high pop fly. And I remember I was thinking, like, you cannot screw this up after that play last inning. So thankfully I made the catch and avoided the embarrassment. So.
Yeah, you did that thing in politics you're not supposed to do, which is really elevate the expectations. You always want to manage them. I was reading comments. I when I'm bored, like to go into the comment section. Super bad advice for people who are new to comment sections. But I was watching the sports accounts that I follow on X that were sharing your content, and I loved all the comments who are like, I hate Republicans, but man, that was a good catch. It's just, I mean, you were getting the love and respect from both sides in a completely nonpartisan way.
There was actually it was reported in the Post-Dispatch. It may be the first positive article I've had in the Post-Dispatch in my entire career, so I'll take it.
You need to turn that into some social media event where you're like reading out your policies out loud, but also doing incredibly athletic things at the same time, and maybe it'll cut through to a new base. Senator Schmitt, we're grateful to call you our own here in Missouri. Thank you for the time today. It's good to have you back.
Thanks, Annie.
Take care. Bye-bye.